If at any point in time construction is coming in higher than that, we can do another issue, you know, to meet up whatever the difference would be. However, we anticipate, I don't necessarily anticipate the need for that. If you flip to page 2, this will actually break down the interest expense. So, $1,020,000 at 1.05%. If you had the money up for a full year, it'd cost you $9,936. I think more realistically, if you see on the 915 of 17 line, I would say that the interest expense, if they end up in November, should be a little bit closer to probably the $5,500 mark. Once the paving's completed, then we can actually bond it out over that 10 or 15-year term. And as we get closer through summer into fall, closer to completion, I'll get preliminary payment schedules up here for you, Roger, so you can take a look at those and get an idea of kind of where things are. If the interest rate environment changes dramatically from where we are now, I'll get that information to you right away. We just did a 15-year deal for a $295 down in St. Paul. We're closing that tonight, so that gives you an idea. We're still south of 3% on the 15-year money, so if we get much above that, I will let you know. Any questions at all?
This would require an ordinance.
Waive the reading on 3 separate occasions. Roll call.
Kusick.
Yes.
Sabacek.
Yeah.
Grayson. Yes. Callen.
Yes.
Hetzke.
Yes. Ordinance number
888. This is an ordinance providing for the issuance of street improvement bond anticipation note series 2017 in the amount of $1,020,000 for the purpose of paying the cost of constructing paving improvements within the city of Nebraska, agreeing to issue bonds to pay the notes and accrued interest at maturity, prescribing the form of the notes, authorizing the sale and delivery of the notes to the purchaser, and ordering the publication of the ordinance in pamphlet form.
You want to introduce 888?
I'll do that.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Kusick.
Yes.
Sabacek.
Yes.
Grayson. Yes. Callen.
Yes.
Hetzke.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you so much. If you have any questions, folks, Cindy has my contact information. Great seeing you all, though.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful spring. See you later.
Welcome back, Saloon.
Hey, Lynn, how are you? Good, good.
Hello, I'm requesting a 2 a.m.
Drive careful.
close on March 17th and 18th.
Corey reviewed that today and did not have a problem with it. Did not. I'll make that motion. You need to do an ordinance, so it'd be ordinance 889.
Waive the reading on 3 separate occasions.
I'll make a motion.
Roll call.
Sabacek.
Yes.
Grayson. Yes. Callen. Hetzke.
Yes.
Kusick.
Yes.
Ordinance 889.
This is an ordinance permitting the retail sale or dispensing of alcohol liquor for consumption on the premises later than 1 a.m. and prior to 2 a.m. on March 18th, 2017 and March 19th, 2017, to repeal all ordinances and resolutions or parts thereof in conflict herewith and to provide for the effective date of this ordinance.
Make motion to approve 889.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Grayson. Yes. Callen.
Yes.
Hetzke.
Yes.
Kusick.
Yes.
Sabacek.
Yes.
Amy Lee, request for 15-minute parking.
Hello, I'm Amy Lee, owner of The Boardroom, which was formerly known as Daryl's Barber Shop. And I'm asking for one 15-minute parking spot to be added along my storefront. Most of my clientele have been served by Daryl for many years, some since 1970, and some struggle to get to my handicap ramp as it is. This is more difficult when parking is unavailable, especially now that the saloon is reopened and is very busy from 11 to 1. Also, my side street is usually is regularly used by residents of the apartments located above the business. And most recently, during renovations, businesses located on the floor lane began using the parking stalls directly in front of my business rather than on the south side of the floor lane. I've spoken to the owners of the businesses that utilize my parking stalls, but they still regularly do so. I don't think that was a problem for Harold, but I don't think these businesses realize that I'm serving the same elderly client as Harold is. And I care deeply for my customers and want them to have safe access to my handicap ramp. And I think a 15-minute parking spot would be the answer to this.
You don't need like a handicap parking spot instead of a 15-minute?
I would, guess I don't really know, I don't think many of them are
Well, I don't
handicapped, I
think you
think
wanna
it's
do
more of
that
a,
because then you'd
Then
eliminate,
there's just, okay,
Yeah.
so
You know what I
15-minute
mean?
would be,
you don't have it for one certain, 15-minute could be for anybody.
yeah.
Is 15 minutes long enough?
yes.
I was just thinking maybe 20 or 30 or,
Can you make them?
yeah, you know.
Can
I
they do that?
think you can do whatever you want in ordinance, can't you?
Right.
Heather?
That's correct.
I'm just sitting here thinking 15 minutes.
30 minutes would probably be the best, because if there's
I'm
someone
just
in the
throwing
chair,
that out
then it's about 15 minutes per haircut.
We can do it there, we can do it there. I mean, whatever you think, I mean, I don't see a problem with it.
Yeah, I think that would be,
I think that would be more
More sense,
more
yeah.
sense, yeah.
That's okay, you won't have to rush through my head. Anything else we just go for you?
Would be a
Place you're gonna
resolution,
Put this right next to the alley or
12:35.
I think the alley, that way they can easily get to
the
it.
one closest to the
If that would
alley?
be, yeah.
And I'll change that in the draft that I provided to you, so 30 minutes.
So 1285, Sandy?
Yes.
Make a motion to approve resolution 1285 to make a 30-minute parking sign in front of business. Second that.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Callan,
Yes.
Petzka,
Yes.
Kusick,
Yes.
Sabachick,
Yes.
Kreisler.
yes,
Thank you. Discussion regarding millings received from the Nebraska DOR, including acquisition, storage, and use. We've had an agreement for a number of years with water for the trucker 200 milling machine. And there's on some discussion, who owns the millings. Once they hit the ground, city property, they became our millings. If there's any other discussion on that, I'd turn it over to Paul so he could bring up what his part is.
I guess I was gonna give a total rundown exactly what happened with the millings. It's gonna take 5 or 10 minutes here, but with instructions from the state, they wanted me to disclose how I got millings at my house and how the city got millings, and I would just like to get it out in the open so there's not any problem, you know, at a later date. So I'm gonna start at the top, and basically, whatever the state mills roads, I was instructed by the street committee and the council to try and secure those millings, because the city uses them for a lot of different road repair, alleys, you know, all kinds of stuff. So when I heard they were gonna mill the Erickson Highway, Highway 70, I made an agreement with the State Department of Roads to let them have water in exchange to put 2 trucks in line to haul millings for the city board. And that was 2 of the city's dump trucks, and that's usually how we do it. I can't recall exactly timelines and whatnot, but after about a half a day of hauling and stuff, the director from the State Department of Roads, which was Gene, come and asked me if it would be okay if they would dump millings on our lagoon property, because they didn't have any place to go with the millings, and they had several trucks, some from the Loop City area, some from the Ord area, and they were getting in one another's way. So I said that would be great. So they start dumping at our lagoon area, which is on the north end of Fifth Street. And pretty soon that started getting congested, not necessarily full of millings, but the trucks were getting one another's way. So I told them it would be okay to haul millings over to our acquired property on the corner of 13th and G Street, which was the old Anderson property. So they started hauling millings there. And the trucks were hauling so fast and stuff, we quit hauling millings with the city's trucks. And they actually were, between the contractor's equipment and the millings on that property, it was getting congested and filled up. So I talked to Gene about hauling them directly onto city streets, which he said that was fine. And with that, I directed him to some different streets and I'll read my notes here so I don't make a mistake on where we hauled them. But when I decided on which streets we were going to go to, I prioritized them quickly because they were hauling millings and they wanted to get done. That was their big deal. They wanted to get done and they were hauling them. And I selected high maintenance, highly traveled streets. Gravel streets were not preferred because of future blacktop maintenances after we pave a gravel street. There was one gravel street that we did though. But anyway, there were a number of trucks delivering to other locations because of the trucks hauling, and milling machine operator wanted to finish his job. And with that, when they were hauling, or the other trucks were hauling to other locations in town, private residents and whatnot, and school barns and whatever, I asked the state if I could have a couple loads of millings in my private driveway, since they were hauling them to everybody else in town. And they said sure, they'd take them down there. And there's not a doubt that they were state trucks that dumped in my driveway, because Mr. Schaefer took pictures of them when they were dumping and had the pictures uptown that afternoon and talked about them. So, you know, that there's your evidence that they were state trucks that took them to my personal residence. After work, I borrowed Petska's backhoe from the backhoe plumbing shop and went home, or took it home and leveled the millings. In fact, I was short of millings in my driveway, and I recalled the state and said, while I was leveling them, I said, I'm a load short on my millings, could you bring me another load? And they said, sure. So they brought them down there and I leveled them out with the backhoe, and then I took the backhoe back to Petska Backhoe. And Mr. Brock is accused of a motor grader at my residence, and there was no motor grader at that residence on that day for sure. There could have been a motor grader at my residence at a later date, because I told Monty to go down there and fix where the water drains down 10th Street on the east side. It all goes right down, or used to go right down my driveway. All the drainage from 10th Street. That's clear from up above all the way down. And Monty fixed that up for me on the road right away, and also not just the road, but right away also, you know, included on that. Because all the water presently drains onto my private lot and driveway down there, which I've never complained about. It always washes gravel in there, and I just accepted the fact. But anyway, Monty tried to fix that up, and I think if you go by there now, you'll see there's a ditch cut in there, and the water drains past the property. Anyway, I had these streets listed on here. Anyway, because Mr. Brock requested, got myself lost here. Okay, after the millings were delivered, Mr. Brock approached me about bringing millings to 10th Street. And I told him that we hadn't decided where we were gonna go with the millings, that we were gonna have a street department meeting, and we would decide where those millings would go. And at that time, Sandy put together a street department meeting, and he was welcome to attend. He expressed concerns about Robert Whitefoot, his neighbor to the south, being handicapped and in a wheelchair. And he was requesting millings for that street because of that reason. And we discussed it, and we decided that we were gonna prioritize roads and alleys the same way that I mentioned earlier. Highly traveled, streets, preferably not gravel. And at that time, we did not mill 10th Street. The places the state hauled for me, or for the city, was 5th Street from S to Riverview, 5th to 6th Street on A Street, M to P Street on 8th, and 19th Street, 21st and 21st on R. The city hauled to 18th and 19th on G, 18th, G into F Street, on F Street, 18th to 19th, and I'll get you these, Sandy, so you don't have to catch up with them, but 11th Street from T to S, and a few alleys. North 5th Street by the lagoons also was milled because of the heavy traffic that was anticipated, and that goes between the houses between there, and there was a big dust storm there. And there was millings hauled to the city golf course parking lot, and there was millings hauled to the cemetery by the trail, where it was washing out of the cemetery onto the trail. There were some millings picked up, which I forgot about. There was 2 or 3 people that came and picked wash jugs up of millings. Some of them took pails. There was one gentleman that took a little tractor bucket home. And one of the individuals that lived on Highway 70 didn't have enough millings to finish his driveway. The state had given him a considerable amount to do his driveway, and he was about 2 trailer loads short, and I let him pick up millings to finish his driveway. But the state had already given him millings to do most of his driveway. And I have on here, that this is a real unfortunate incident. As everybody knows, it caused a lot of trouble with the Department of Roads. It's caused a lot of trouble with us. We've had a very good working relationship with the county and Nebraska Department of Roads, and hopefully this won't stop our working together as tax-based entities to, keep improving the stuff that we have here. And Mr. Brock sent me some questions that I'd like to answer. And of course, who was on the street committee? And at that time, it was Jade, Brad, and Dan, and all 3 were present at that meeting that we discussed the billings. How did the street committee determine 10th Street between Q and S is lightly traveled? It's basically a dead-end street on both ends, and very few homes. I guess it was determined by my determination that it wasn't a highly traveled street. And then it said, was there a traffic survey conducted? And no, there was no traffic survey deducted. I really didn't think that you needed a traffic study to determine how much traffic was on a 1 block each way double dead end street. Number 4. The street department determined that the Markowski's private driveway needed the millings, but Fifth Street didn't. The city of Ward had no decision on the millings that went to my driveway. I contacted the state personally and said, if, while you were hauling them to other properties, they did not come off the city of Ward's milling pile. They came directly off Highway 70 and into my driveway. Who made the deal for the millings with the state? And that would be me for the city. And I think it's an awful good deal that we can get millings for the amount of water that the state uses. And that deal doesn't just include this project with the state. The state had an ongoing relationship that they could get water from the city for any project. It wasn't just this millings things like everybody makes it out to be. Was the deal approved by the utility board or city council? No, but like I said at the start of this meeting, I had previous instruction to secure millings, so that's how that deal came about. Who directed NDO trucks where to dump millings? That would be me. I directed them where to go, Lagoons, Andersons, the city streets, but I did not direct the trucks to go to my driveway. I contacted the state and somebody else directed the trucks. I know it was not me that directed the trucks, and I don't know who directed the trucks to take them to my driveway. But I did call the state and ask them, along with 25 other people or 40 people or whoever, how many received them at that time. And did you receive the millings from the city or the state? And as I said earlier, they came from the state Highway 70. With that, I would be glad to answer any of the council's questions, and if not, I'll turn it over to whatever you want to do with it. But if the council has any questions. Okay.
Any questions? No, Guy Brock, street issues?
I do have a question. You said you gave some millings to someone on Highway 70. Who was that?
I don't know if I have to say that, but I will if I have to or whatever. It was Alan Petzka.
Okay. He was also the person that you borrowed the front end loader from.
Correct.
Okay. Something I'd like to correct that Mr. Markowski stated was that I had made a complaint